We're back on the X52 podcast. It is Thursday, September 5th. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined by Spenny Football. It is officially back. Football season is here. Football couldn't get here soon enough, and now it's here in several hours. The Baltimore Ravens will be commencing their season at Arrowhead Stadium versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Is it a revenge game? Is it, what kind of game is this going to be? Who really knows? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. The Chiefs are going to be raising the banner for their Super Bowl title that they won. The Ravens are going to be looking to kick their campaign off with a new look offense here in Derrick Henry and a new face leading their defense as well in the form of Zach Orr. Lots of changes, I think, to both sides. Lots of things that we can dive into here. But Spenny, first real preview of 2024, of the 2024 season, I should say. How are we feeling?
I feel like crap. Woke up with some chills today. It's just a lot of fun. I've been in bed all day, the entire day. I'm still wearing the same shirt that I wore when we recorded yesterday. I feel like absolute shit. So aside from that, I don't know, not fun, really anything. So
you were so fired up last night, and you were just so happy. Football was back, Spenny football, and now I hate seeing this. I hate seeing like this.
Yeah. So to truth be told, didn't get to prepare as much as I would have liked to for this one, but yeah, you mentioned some changes on both sides. Looking through the Chiefs roster, they have Kingsley Sumatia at left tackle. They still have the other four: Juwan Taylor, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney. Kelsey's still there. Noah Gray's still there. They bring in Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy to pair with Justin Watson, Rashee Rice, Mecole Hardman. They bring in Juju Schuster, Sky Moore still there. They kick in Samaje Perine. Isaiah Pacheco is still the back. They have Carson Steele, who is having some fun in the preseason a little bit, with, of course, Mahomes. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they do lose L'Jarius Sneed, who made that winning play on Zay Flowers, punching the ball out after Zay was doing everything he could to bully him and hurt his feelings, spinning the ball on him, getting tauntings, all that good stuff. So he got the last laugh, and now he is gone. But George Karlaftis, who had 10 sacks last year, Mike Dana, Derek Nandi, Chris Jones. Linebackers, they lose Willie Gay, but they have Drew Tranquil, who played really well last year for them in Spagnuolo's defense, as well as Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal. Really pretty much retained their entire defense aside from Sneed and Willie Gay. So very much kind of running it back for the Chiefs. They add Hollywood Brown, add Xavier Worthy, and they have a rookie left tackle. So maybe a little bit more drastic on the Ravens side of things, with us not even knowing who their starting five of their offensive line is going to be, them just waiting until first snap to get into that. But yeah, a game where the Chiefs are a familiar foe.
Yeah, kickoff time, 8:20 Thursday night. It is a Sunday night football production on Thursday night. Always really entertained by the fact that the NFL doesn't even try to not make that as confusing as it can possibly be. But yeah, I think it should be Mike and Chris on the call there, so that'll be nice. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening. Going to be kind of a little bit of a balmier one than I was expecting with the way the weather has been here. It's going to be like, it looks like mid 80s to low 80s when they kick off there around the 8:20 p.m. time. Ravens a 3-point road dog in this one. Initial thoughts on all of that?
Makes sense. I mean, Vegas doesn't treat home and away quite as heavily as they used to. The kind of growing speculation is that Vegas gives about 1.5, maybe 2.5 points for home field advantage. So they think that the Chiefs win a close one. And overall, we just talked about it a little bit. There's not a ton of changes for Kansas City. They still have Spags. They still have a lot of their coaching staff. A lot of it was retained. And with that in mind, I think a huge determining factor for this game is the Ravens' ability to stay out of long third downs and true passing downs, because like we just talked about, we don't know their offensive line. It could be Rosengarten, it could be McCary, it could be Falele, it could be Cleveland, it could be Voorhees, it could be Josh Jones. There's 6 different guys that could be starting for 3 different spots tomorrow, and it'll be new. So that, in addition to Derrick Henry coming in, new, should be pretty smooth there. Running back's not usually the most difficult thing to transition between different schemes and things like that. A lot of running the football is reading a PFF article talking about how Henry succeeds and runs a lot more outside zone and duo over the last couple of years with Tennessee, and the Ravens run a lot more power and counter, and that wasn't super versed. So I'm curious to see how that ties in. What are the Ravens going to run? How are they going to keep themselves out of those sticky third down situations. And I would expect the Ravens offensive line to have a really difficult test with that front, with Chris Jones, with Karlaftis, with some of these bodies up front in terms of stunting, bringing pressure, bringing the Tranquils and the Nick Boltons on 2-level pressures and things like that. The Ravens struggled with that in that AFC Championship game. They were awful on third down and in those true passing situations. So that needs to be the next iteration, that next chapter to figure out for the Ravens is to have automatic, quick answers to identify pressure and get the damn backs involved, man. Justice Hill's prop in this game is 7.5 receiving yards. I think he hit that in the last 5 games. And still, I watched that championship game and there's times where he's not getting his head around quick enough. We haven't really seen a back really help Lamar Jackson out, being quick mentally and processing in the pass game since Mark Ingram. That's really the one that stands out that was more so of a weapon in the pass game than maybe a little bit of a liability. Hill has grown very much there, and I'm looking for him to, as John Harbaugh said, we treat him as a starter. All right, then you need to be able to help out Lamar Jackson on those couple situations where the Chiefs are going to bring pressure. We know Spags is going to bring pressure. They're going to try and play man coverage. It worked last time. I'm sure they'll mix some certain things up, but they're going to want to try to see if the Ravens do have a quick rhythm answer for those same pressures, those same situations that gave them trouble. What did they convert? 1 of 5, and I think the one was Lamar Jackson catching it himself off of a deflection on a throw to Justice Hill. So that is kind of the key on that side of the football to me. Can you stay out of those third and longs? It's going to be loud there. It's going to be new starters along the offensive line that have 0 games played. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum not on the injury report, but has not practiced much, has not played with these guys. So continuity is an issue. The Chiefs, like we just talked about, bringing back a bunch of dudes defensively, especially along that front. So that's going to be a tough test, very much a tough test. And I think if the Ravens look clean on those third down situations, that'll go a long way. And if they're doing in those true passing downs, those 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 6s and longer, then they'll be in a good spot. And a big part of that should be Derrick Henry and should be getting the tight ends involved early.
Yeah, the offensive line, that obviously is kind of the big story for me. I've been talking about it ad nauseum. We still don't really know. They haven't announced who the starters are going to be. If you look at lineups on PFF, left to right, it's Stanley, Voorhees, Linderbaum, Falele, and Rosengarten as your starters there. So, we'll certainly see how that works out. I think Chris Jones obviously is the big name that people are thinking about, but you mentioned Karlaftis and his 10 sacks last season. Those are the 2 guys that I'm looking at for sure. They've also got Mike Dana. They've got Derek Nottie, and their linebacking core, it's guys that are solid. I know we've liked Leo Chanel. Nick Bolton is obviously a very physical presence. He was fun to watch in the Super Bowl, and Drew Tranquil there at linebacker. But it's just one of those things where when we talk about the Ravens offense versus the Chiefs defense, like there's just something about playing against the Chiefs that makes the Ravens, and particularly Lamar, I think, forget who they and he are and is. Like it just, there's something that just completely flusters them a little bit. I think back to even that one win that they've had. When you talk about the 5 matchups, him being 1-4, that one win, it starts off with him throwing a couple interceptions, one of them in the end zone, one of them for a pick 6. He just tends to play a little quick, a little bit harried, a little bit off platform. He makes some decisions that you don't see him make in other games. I think partially because he's pressing. I think partially because he wants to try and capitalize as much as he possibly can. And I think it's just got to be a little bit different than that. I think you got to try and play a little bit of chess. I think you need to go on long, sustained drives, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, let them get cold on the sideline, frustrate them a little bit. And I think that's all going to have to go hand in hand in a game where you have an offensive line that hasn't had a chance to really gel yet. They lost their coach, obviously, as we've talked about. They've got a scheme that's in its second year that I think looked very solid in doing this type of thing last year, where it was just sustained long drives and getting yourself into second and short situations. That reminds me a lot of the Roman criticism at times, where they would just, run it on 1st and 10, then run it on 2nd down. They just find themselves in all these 3rd and longs, that just unable to convert. Like, you've got to find a way to get yourself into 2nd and medium, 3rd and short. And then you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Derrick Henry, you've got 2 really solid tight ends, and then some solid wide receivers as well. That if you look at this, secondary, it is Justin Reed, it is Trent McDuffie, but then they've got Brian Cook starting over top at free safety, and then they've got Jalen Watson on the other side at corner from McDuffie, and obviously that's just in their base package, but I don't know, that screams gettable to me when you have a Rashad Bateman and a Nelson Aguilar as your, kind of 2nd or 3rd option there at wide receiver, and you have an Isaiah Likely and just, several different options. So I think like you hit the nail on the head there. It's just about getting and keeping yourselves in manageable situations. Don't let the Chiefs panic you. Don't let them harry you and turn you into something that you're not, because it's all too often that we've seen that happen in these games. And that's what frustrates me so much about it, because like, yeah, I speak ill of the Chiefs, but it's also a ton of respect, because like they've earned all the respect that they've gotten. But what frustrates me and maddens me even more about it is that it seems like Lamar Jackson should be playing better in these games. And I think Josh Allen has been victim of this too at times, where they just feel like they need to win the game on every single play. Like, I don't know, I just want to see them settle in, play a complete game here, whatever the outcome is, and that would make me feel very good.
Yeah, they certainly didn't have that experience and tried to press in the AFC Championship. I don't think we will see the Ravens or Lamar Jackson try to press. It's not a elimination game with the Super Bowl on the line. So there's not really that consequence that puts you into that corner ultimately in this game. So again, a big part of the Ravens offense is going to be probably needing to move the pocket, get the ball out quickly a little bit, use some max protection, use, as Bill Belichick called him on the Pat McAfee show earlier, Richard, to come in and block and lay down some wood and see what you can get out of Derrick Henry.
By the way, what do you think about Matt Patricia as like his kind of analyst, his color guy there?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
His like podcast that he's doing for Underdog, like it was the funniest thing. Like he like this kind of clip of it was surfacing, and it was Bill just like breaking things down. And I think somebody like quote tweeted it, and they were like, "You're not going to believe who the camera cuts to." And of course, it's Matt Patricia, who's like serving as like the play-by-play guy, and then he's setting up Bill to do his analysis. Incredible stuff.
I saw a Josh McDaniels clip floating around that was him just like saying how he's scared of Bill Belichick and doesn't know how to still doesn't know how to interact with him because Bill is funny. But Matt Patricia's probably got some good stories there. They all have a nice condescending kind of jerk to them, McDaniels, Bill, and Patricia. So I'm sure they've got some funny stories about them razzing each other up and being hardos and all that good stuff. But Bill looks like a sweet old man now. He's got a nice young lady by his side to show him the softer side of things.
He's also joined InstaFace. I don't know if you saw that today.
I hate that one's not making me laugh. That whole thing was not. I was not giggling. I didn't feel good today. I was like, stop, Bill. I don't care about that joke. That's like a 5-year-old joke. Stop.
I shouldn't have derailed you there, because I know you're kind of operating at less than 100% capacity. What was the point you were making before we got on the Belichick tangent?
I don't know, but the Ravens have not won in Kansas City, surprisingly, since 2012 in that 9-6 game. And I think they won in the playoffs 30-7 in January. That was in October of 2012, and the Ravens beat the Dwayne Bowe-led Chiefs, the Matt Castle Chiefs, whooped them 30-7 in the playoffs before that. So it's been over a decade since the Ravens have gone into Kansas City and won, which is not fun. Andy Reid 9-2 in week ones. John Harbaugh, I can't remember, 12-4, maybe something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I had it a minute ago, but obviously a very good record. The Chiefs had won 8 straight week ones before last year, and people keep talking about that game. I mean, they didn't have Kelsey. You take Kelsey out of that team, it's a lot tougher sledding. It is a lot of resources you can dedicate other places, and you're not as scared about the middle of the field getting worked and all the third downs and all the little quick option routes that him and Mahomes can pair up to go move the chains on. Curious to see. I mean, tight ends going to be a huge storyline of this game as well. Kelsey, of course, and then the duo out of Baltimore. You can throw Kohler in there too, but Likely and Andrews, we'll see what the plan is. Likely didn't get a ton of burn while Andrews was healthy, and as soon as he was not, they propelled Likely into this massive role, and he looked like a star. So excited to see how they're able to, or hopefully able to, incorporate both of those guys. And Likely at this point, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, should be someone that is in his prime and is ready to take hits and move the chains, and on 2nd and 8, catch a little screen or a little flare and rumble through someone for an extra 3 yards and make it 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 3 instead of 3rd and 5. So I think they need to rely on Likely to be a chain mover and bring that physical presence. McDuffie, the All-Pro, kicking out wide, it sounds like. We'll see. Sounds like that with Snead leaving, they wanted McDuffie to go back at the boundary, which kind of reminds you of Marlon Humphrey a lot, right? When he was a younger player, bouncing back in between that nickel, the physicality that he brings, and some of that sticky man coverage physicality that he's had. So McDuffie really, really, really good in the slot. Curious to see how he's able to hang. And Snead, obviously a huge loss and was so impactful in that last game, and let alone just being a bully. I mean, the guy can bowl over Tyreek Hill, stick with Jamar Chase, all those things. So they still have some physicality in McDuffie. Justin Reed, a smart player. This team is just running back 9 of their starters. They have Felix and Duque Uzoma as well, a high pick last year. It didn't really get a lot of playing time. Curious to see how they deploy him, especially on some passing downs, maybe with Karlaftis and another outside linebacker or two and some kind of bigger nickel stuff. So very, very curious there overall. Pacheco, someone we haven't talked about, Roquan Smith, and the Ravens defense. I think a little bit too much is being made of Mike McDonald. Like when Mike McDonald did take over, yes, there were some learning curves. This is a much better unit. They have a lot more leadership in this unit. And the contrast from Wink Martindale's defense to Mike McDonald's defense was stark. I don't expect that to be the case with Orr at all. I think it is going to be the same model with a different paint job. So I don't think we're going to see this massive breakdown in communication and have this really rough period. Are they going to be as magical on third down and some of the pressure packages they could throw? I don't think so either. I think that was kind of McDonald's wizardry, was understanding timing of different pressure looks and how to get into those different concepts. They talk about them being just one word and short, and everyone understanding the different iterations of that one play to alignment and personnel and things like that. So with Roquan Smith there, I think that helps the blow of communication. Helps to burden the loss of Mike McDonald a little bit. I think we're looking at a game in the 20s, right? I feel like these teams know each other really well. It was a little bit more low scoring. It was a little bit more, it wasn't a little bit more, it was fully do or die. And if you fuck up, if you make a mistake, then you're done. So the pressure was there that you talked about, Jake, with Lamar Jackson. And for as much as I have said, someone made a good point to me on Twitter, as much as I have said he basically threw 2 touchdowns in that game because Flowers gets the ball punched out, he did throw a pick dead into the hands of a Chiefs defender in the third quarter before that, and it got dropped. So turnover-worthy plays. Lamar Jackson led the playoffs of all quarterbacks, had 4 turnover-worthy plays as a passer there. I think, it's rudimentary to say. You hear everybody say it for a reason, though. Coaches, analysts, everyone. Staying out of third and long, not turning the football over. And when you get into the red zone, you got to make Derrick Henry make them pay. And we'll see if the Ravens can get some push. But that unit really gapped up well in some of those situations against the Ravens run game. But if Derrick Henry can get going, I think that flips everything on its head. So curious about all those aspects.
Yeah, basically that's kind of what I'm looking at is just like I keep saying, is can you just chip away? Can you keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands and frustrate him? I struggle to think back to, obviously the Chiefs don't lose very often, but like when they do, it's like, how often are they like even losing in those shootout types of games, right? They had the one against the Bills with the 13 seconds. Like that was just one of those shootout games where, Josh Allen is going kind of Mad Max Fury Road. And it looks like with that pass at the very end, like he finally got him and then 13 seconds happens. Like you got to try to turn them into a team that they're not, which is one where they have to sit there and be patient and they can't run around and, run a million of their own plays and do all their Mickey Mouse bullshit. And, Mahomes is running off the field, doing stupid kind of stuff with his arms and, pointing at the camera. Like, I don't know. You need to try and just kind of, you need to try and get in their head a little bit. I think you do that, like I said, by keeping them off the field. And like, this is definitely the Ravens team that I think is best suited to do that. If the offensive line is even half of probably what they were last year, or if they're close to what you need them to be, I think you'll be in a solid spot because you've got 2 good blocking tight ends that can also catch the football. You've got some solid talent at wide receiver, obviously, and then it's Derrick Henry, it's Lamar Jackson. We were talking about that John Gruden clip. Obviously, it was a little bit simplified. Maybe I was poking fun a little bit, but you and he were both right that at its essence, if one of them keeps the other, or if one of them keeps the ball, then the defense is, thinking, well, I didn't sign up for tackling this guy. I didn't sign up for tackling Derrick Henry. I didn't sign up for having to bring down Lamar Jackson in the open field. It's just all about matchups. Just like, we talk about baseball, everything's about adjustments. Football, it's all about matchups. And I don't know. I think if the Ravens break and then Lamar sees something in the formation that he can take advantage of, whether it's checking to some kind of run play or it's maybe even checking to an option, if he finds, some kind of look, I'd like to see him. To your point, I want to see some evidence that he has even more ownership of this offense than he got even last year, which was actually a pretty significant step forward for him. I want to see more of him kind of barking at the line. I want to see him, to the extent that he can, obviously it's going to be a hostile environment, but, I want to see him kind of continue to just grow and mature. And I want to see a more and more professionalism because I think he took a big step forward in that the last couple of years, in particular last year. And I think this would be, regardless of outcome, I think this would be the perfect environment to really test that out. So,
yeah, in terms of trying to make a lot of changes at the line in this game, I am foreseeing Lamar Jackson getting really mad and clapping his hands really hard and being like pissed off. This is going to be a tough game. Down. Yeah, spiking the ball down. I think this is going to be a tough game to try and last second make changes. Check, run game's one thing. Checking into runs should not be that difficult. It still will be a little bit, as again, this line doesn't have much continuity and there's some younger players that haven't had many starts. So I'm foreseeing that. That is my prediction. We see Lamar Jackson get really pissed off at having to call a timeout or taking a delay of game and trying to maybe do a little bit too much. I hope that's not the case. Again, I'm going to say if the Ravens get the backs involved in the pass game, whether that's Derrick Henry on some screens, whether that's Justice Hill. Todd Monken was really getting deep into his bag on kind of mesh rail route stuff with Justice Hill, throwing them the ball down the sideline, getting some of that going. I think that is a massive, massive, massive way that the Ravens can alleviate some pressure off of their line, get the backs involved in the pass game. So, Mark Andrews is going to get attention. Flowers is a dynamic player. We'll see what Rashad Bateman can do this year. And then on the other side, I'm going to say, I think that is the key to the Ravens winning this game, key to the Chiefs winning this game. If they can hit one shot over top to a Xavier Worthy, or I don't know, Rashee Rice wasn't really used as a downfield kind of deep target much. Kelsey isn't getting thrown 45-yard air passes all too often. So I think Xavier Worthy breaking the field open a little bit on a long gain, I think that will be the kind of winning stick for the Chiefs if they can get that going at all. Curious to see if we get Nate Wiggins versus Worthy at all. Did feel like, the Ravens just loved Wiggins, but it worked out that probably the two fastest receiver and DB, the fastest individual receiver and DB in this class. They have kind of a similar frame in ways. They've generated some buzz throughout camp. I've seen some nice clips of Worthy, beating guys over top, all that kind of stuff. Curious to see if we get a matchup of them, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Ravens to get the backs involved in the pass game, spread things out, get the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands, spread the field laterally. And if you're going to let Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton and Eddie Jackson and these corners and Roquan Smith kind of keep things in front of them, I don't know. I don't know that that's a winning recipe for the Chiefs if they can't push the ball. Mahomes has gotten a lot better in that regard. He's talked about that transition of the too high safety stuff and everything we talked about last year. But I think they need to figure out a way to alleviate some of the pressure underneath. Pacheco is a dynamic runner. They have a good offensive line. The Ravens have a good front. They should have a very physical front with Van Noy, Pierce, Jones, Matabike, Owe, Roquan, Trenton Simpson, Kyle Hamilton, all these guys. Malik Harrison, we'll see. Brent Urban, we'll see. So I think the Chiefs need to generate a shot play. I think they need to have something over top that hits to open things up for them. I'll say if the Chiefs win, it's because they're able to push the ball downfield once or twice and open up the Ravens defense a little bit, get them in their heads, get them a little scared, back them up, and then eat up some clock, sustain some long drives like you were saying. And I think if the Ravens win, a big factor of that, like I mentioned, that they're able to get the backs involved, get the ball out quickly underneath, and that they avoid trying to do too much on the road when you have three new offensive line starters that might not have a lot of experience. So those are kind of where I'm looking. If we're deciding this game now, that's what I think decides it.
Yeah, I think for me, a factor that really isn't talked about enough just because of how incredible he is with his arm is containing Mahomes with his legs, not only running down the field, but moving to extend plays. We talk about this with Owe a lot. Can you finish your sacks? Can you not only beat a guy, but can you grab Mahomes, get his kind of big frame, and can you bring him all the way down and just finish through the whistle? Because him just dodging his way out of sacks, there's a million highlights of it where he just spins away from a guy, runs down the field, or he makes some massive throw because the defense is all completely out of alignment and it's just a total fire drill. Can you mitigate the fire drills? Can you mitigate him scrambling down the field on you? Because he's a very effective scrambler as well. That's really important, I think. And I'm curious how much you even attempt to assign guys to do something like that, because you're probably going to be focusing a lot of your attention on Kelsey. I think Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and, Justin Watson, he's not amazing necessarily, but he's made some plays in his career. And obviously Pacheco and some of these other weapons that they have, they're all pretty solid. And I think Roquan Smith obviously took some heat for comments about stopping the running game earlier in the week by Chiefs fans. I think Mahomes in the running game is equally kind of a component of that running game for them. I think as much as they love their quick passes and they love all that stuff, I think it's all kind of a factor of just small little chunk plays that are just a million paper cuts that absolutely kill you. And we've seen it from him in Super Bowls. We've seen him win Super Bowls with his legs too. Whether it was against the Eagles, I think he had a couple massive scrambles that really won those games for them. He's had a couple against the Ravens. That's just a factor that I think is often not talked about because he's throwing for 40 plus touchdowns every year. But he's
not. He only had 27 last year.
Yeah, well, that's true. But he kind of a down season from them pass catcher production wise. But yeah, I mean, it's like if he's not on the level of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, I don't quite think that he is, but he's pretty freaking close. Like, and that's just like, it's the fifth infinity stone, really. It's what makes him as incredible as he is, I think. If not, he'd probably just be Ben Roethlisberger, right? But like, this is Ben Roethlisberger 10 years later, and it's absolutely lethal. And it's what makes him maybe the best, probably the best quarterback I've ever seen. So
it's a big part of what both quarterbacks do, making plays after the play, improvising, being able to make guys miss in the backfield, not taking sacks. Definitely has been a stronger suit in terms of not taking sacks for Mahomes, who I think him and Josh Allen probably had the two lowest pressure to sack rates in the NFL last year. Big part of what Josh Allen does, Joe Burrow too, to a degree. So yeah, agreed there. Sacks are killers. Sack is the mind killer, and the Ravens need to figure out a way to generate pressure to hit him and get, I just don't understand the backlash of Roquan Smith's comment. Yeah, Mahomes is, because he's been so good on 3rd and long, but it's like, yeah, would you rather 3rd and fucking 2? Like, I don't really understand. The Ravens kind of mantra they always talk about is stop the run to have some fun. They want to control the line of scrimmage. They want to get you into passing downs, and they want to throw exotic pressure looks at you. Mahomes is very good. What? Stop the pass. Okay. What does that even mean? Stop the pass. Yeah, just stop the pass. Okay. Yeah, we want to stop the pass.
He was saying,
is that what you want him to say? Stop the pass?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they were saying like, make him one-dimensional. It's like, how is that going to make him one-dimensional? It's like, well, literally by definition, that would make their offense one-dimensional. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad, but that's just what he's saying. And you have a much better chance when it's 50-50 versus when they have kind of both those pistons pumping. And I think Travis Kelce, to that clip that you sent in our group chat, I think he actually agreed with it. So I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It might have just been some speak. It might have been Roquan playing some head games. Who knows? Who cares? Whatever. But again, I think this defense, the Chiefs offensive line, we're looking at a polar opposite situation. They got Thuney, they got Creed Humphrey to sign a massive extension. They have some pretty serious offensive linemen. Do they have a rookie? Yes. But you can hide one rookie a little bit at left tackle there when you've got some experienced dudes. Trey Smith has been so damn good. Jawan Taylor is a fine player, so they have a nice unit. I don't know. Pirine there to help out in pass pro a little bit. We'll see. It's neither of these units. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm fucking delirious. But the Chiefs have a really well-balanced offense. I think that's what I want to put into the record there.
Yeah, Noah Gray, another guy that sneaky makes a big play here and there in a game.
He can sit down over the middle of the field for you. He's got reliable hands. He's smart in the red zone. They flip him the ball when Kelce gets a bunch of attention. Pacheco runs hard. So, again, the Chiefs, just the key here, they didn't lose a coach. They didn't lose a coordinator. I'm sure they lost some back-end guys, whatever. I haven't gone that deep, but they haven't really lost much. They lose Snead. That's a big loss. But they have McDuffie to step in, hopefully, for them. And yeah, I think the Ravens do have their work cut out for them in many ways because of that continuity versus the unknown and going on the road. And curious, I'll put into the record, I think we see McCary start at right tackle because of some of those reasons. And we see Rosengarten start to take over in the next couple of weeks here. I'm still kind of hitching my wagon to Ben Cleveland being the guy, as Falele doesn't have experience playing guard in a game and is gigantic. And maybe they just do truly hate Ben Cleveland. This is the same thing that happened with Ben Powers. And then Voorhees kind of struggled. If you go watch some of the preseason tape, it is just preseason, but struggled picking up some stunts, keeping his head on a swivel, lurching with some two hands at times. So I think if the Ravens lose this game, it's because they can't keep Lamar Jackson clean and he gets frustrated, like I said, and they're trying to do too much at the line of scrimmage. And I kind of feel like that's going to happen. The more I think about this game, the more I think we're going to see the Ravens get a little frustrated up front.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if I have anything more to say on this one. Do you want to get into predictions?
Yeah, sure. Again, I think this is a game in the 20s. I think it will be close. people talk so much about that Lions game last year. They didn't have Kelsey. And their three guys are really Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones. And because of that, I think it's tough. I do think it's tough to go there. I do think it's tough. And I think we maybe see the Ravens slip and fall a little bit, make some plays. There's a wealth of weapons, a wealth of balanced offensive line. And I think the Ravens have a little bit of work cut out for them over the first month of the season. But as this game sneaks up, I do think the Chiefs are able to pull this one out. I'll say maybe 20, 27, 24, something like that.
24 hours later, we're changing our prediction, huh?
I feel like shit, so that probably has to do with me. I've part of that, my own bias, which is not supposed to happen, but I was supposed to go to my buddy's house and watch at his new house and have a fun time. He was like, yeah, let's eat some pizza, have some wings, watch some football. He has a newborn that's a couple months old, Clay, and now I'm not going to go there because I don't want to get his fucking baby sick. I'm sure he doesn't want that either. So I'm just imagining me sitting on my couch, wallowing tomorrow, sweating and watching the Ravens kind of piss down their leg a little bit at the end or something. That's
maybe I'll go.
Kind of the vibes that I'm getting, and maybe that's just me being a little sick and angry and grumpy.
I got some books to talk with Clay. Maybe I'll get over there.
There you go.
Okay. That's too bad. I feel bad for you. I know you were looking forward to this big time, and now you're in a foul mood and you've picked them to lose, and that kind of demoralizes me a little bit. So
I'm dripping in sweat right now. Like I'm so sweaty.
All right. Well,
down my back. I can feel it beating down my back right now. I took Dayquil, so I think that's helping. But I'm a grumpy motherfucker right now.
For everyone trashing me for today's pod, for yesterday's pod, for being too pessimistic on the Ravens. Look what sickness does to a motherfucker. We got slimy Spenny here switching his prediction at the last minute. I hate to see it. I do have the Ravens.
I was laying in bed. I woke up like 40 minutes ago or something, or an hour ago. I don't know what time it is. And I was just laying there. I tried to watch a couple preview videos and look up some stuff. And I was just like, this is going to be a miserable day tomorrow, isn't it? Because of all this, because of how excited I was. Hopefully I just wake up and I'm a nice, healthy prince tomorrow, but I don't know.
I hope so. A little 24-hour situation, kind of clean the system out. Then you'll be right back at it. You'll be fine. Just hang in there. Maybe they'll get you a win. I am not expecting it. I am picking the Chiefs to win this one. Like I said yesterday, I do think it will be competitive. I think Lamar is going to be sacked multiple times. I think he will get a little frazzled, but I am expecting big plays, both on the ground and through the air. I expect the defense to force a couple turnovers in this one. I think they're chomping at the bit. I think Kyle Hamilton, I think Roquan Smith, I think they want to get up in the muck with Kelsey a little bit. I think they want to kind of, some of these narratives flying around about that one play that Hamilton gave up to Kelsey in the championship game, and now all of a sudden everyone wants to rewrite history. That defense played really well in that game, and they got done dirty by the Ravens offense. And it's unfortunate, but it's where we're at. And I think they have a lot of pride. To your point, it's a defense that kind of coaches itself a little bit. We'll see how Zach Orr does as far as game flow. I think that was something that Mike McDonald really did excel at. So that's one thing that maybe is a thing to watch, but hopefully it proves out to be a good thing for them. Expecting a close one. I do expect the Chiefs to put up 4 touchdowns ultimately. Chiefs win this one 28 to 25, the tune for the Ravens. I think the Ravens offense is going to look solid, but it's going to be inconsistent. It's not going to be totally pretty, but ultimately they're just going to do what they do when they have Lamar Jackson, which is put up points. And I think I'm going to walk out of this one feeling relatively encouraged. I think there's going to be a lot of takes flying around. I think it's going to be a lot of I told you so's. The Ravens can never do it. Let's be real. They could win this game 60 to fucking nothing. And everyone would say, oh, they still got to do it in the playoffs. So there's no narrative that can be changed by this game. I think the Ravens just want to go in there, feel good about themselves on both sides of the ball, get out, and then go play the real week 1 game against the Raiders. I think that's where we're at. And I think we are going to walk out of this with a loss, but I expect there will be some things to be positive about. So
there you have it.
Okay. Is that all you got, pal? You ready to go?
I'm running on fumes here.
Okay.
Quite sad. I was excited for this episode and wanted to lay down some fun stuff, get some tape going, but I've just been in bed all day. So hopefully it's just my my grumpy sickness, and I didn't see into the matrix well enough. That's it.
Okay. That's fine. Sometimes we get a little too excited too early, and things happen. We've all been there. Thank you to everyone for listening to the first preview pod of the season. Recording this one a little bit earlier than we usually will because it's the Thursday night game. These are usually going to come out on Fridays. So yeah, get excited for that. Hope you enjoyed this one. Like I said, we'll be live, I guess, tonight as you're listening to this after the game to break down all the action, to break down the game, and to, I guess, look ahead to the season after that. Like I said, this kind of feels like this feels like a week 0 to me. This feels like a week 0 game, and then the real week 1 will be the Raiders. So, we'll see what happens in this one. Like I said, our predictions are both out there, both picking the Ravens to take the L here, unfortunately. But if you got an idea on how you think it's going to go down any differently, or if you want to just drop us any other kind of line, feel free to leave a comment in the YouTube comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to us on YouTube, spread us around to all your friends, spread the good word of Exit 52. Follow us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X and on Instagram. I am at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. You can find Brian. Summer of Banks is officially over. I hate to say it. It's like Brat Summer. Banks Summer is officially over. You can find him at Barstool Banks. You can find Eric at EDITTI22. Shout out to our guy Taylor, who's actually made it official, officially announced it that he is changing jobs. He is leaving the Maryland Terrapins after, I think, around a decade of service. So congrats to our guy Big T. Hope to hear more from him and Brian as Raven season is kicking off here. So that'll be plenty of fun. And thanks to our presenting sponsors, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Black Eyed Susan Spices, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, Clipper City, all the main hitters. We appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.